Welcome to Three and Out with Jason and Kevin. I am Jason. That is Kevin. We are on the Orange and Black Insider on YouTube. It is us, Three and Out, and the OBI, which is John Sheeran and Anthony Cosenza. And then on Believe, we are on the Believe Network. Our channel is called Believe in Cincy, and that's BLEAV. And it's Kevin and I for Three and Out. It's OBI. It's Matt and Willie No Ball, and then it's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. And there's basically Bengals content every single day there. So like, subscribe on both of those. Again, it's the Orange and Black Insider on YouTube, and then it's Believe in Cincy is the channel, and that's BLEAV. Last week, Kevin and I were doom and gloom. Doom and gloom. Yeah. It was a bad show. It was. If you watched it, we're sorry. We feel a little bit better this week. We have a couple of weeks to separate ourselves, I think, from that Commanders loss, especially considering what they did again this week. Jaden Daniels proved it wasn't a fluke, against the Bengals. He played really well again this weekend.
Yes, he did.
But the Bengals are now 1-3 heading into their first AFC North game. Kevin, tell me how you feel about the team now heading into week 5 versus how you felt heading into week 4.
Better, not good.
Okay.
The defense is a problem. We're going to get to that because hopefully it will be less of a problem coming up soon. But for a Ravens team that is on a historic tear as far as running yards are concerned,
yeah.
I'm not certain the help is on the way. I'm not certain it's going to be helpful enough. But I feel better. I at least know this team is capable of putting up some kind of a defensive stand, which they did more than once. But they're still not good. And we'll get into that because hopefully the all on the field is going to be that's going to be the worst the defense is going to look all season. That's the hope, right?
Yeah.
Because BJ Hill is all indications are he will be back. And Chris Jenkins is going to be getting a significant snap increase. Mm-hmm. Those two things alone, in my opinion, should shore up that D-line at least to make it like manageable.
Right.
It might not look that way against the Ravens. We'll see. But it's a big step in the right direction.
Oh, yeah. So at the end of week 4, what we saw Trey Hendrickson had a stinger and left the game, and I think everyone just kind of figured, well, he's probably going to miss the next couple of weeks at least. And then the report came out. Do what?
I didn't. Trey Hendrickson ain't built that way. He's like the one player where if like he walks off under his own power, he'll usually think like he'll be back. He'll be back next game.
I get that.
He's just he's built to that old school like 80s like smash mouth football stuff that you still hear like talk of. Like he's one of the few players still built that way. Like pain is not reason enough to stay off that field.
Well, I think that's the thing is they said that report came out that there was no noticeable like nerve damage in his stinger, and I think it was just going to come down to a pain management thing. And it seems he today's Wednesday. We're recording on Wednesday. You'll see it on Thursday, but on Wednesday he practiced, and it was limited. Yeah. But the fact that he practiced to me says he'll be playing on Sunday. Now I don't know if he's going to take every snap. I can imagine them saying, hey, on some of these running plays, let's do something else. You know what I mean? But yeah, the fact that he's coming in, like you said, they are getting some help back. McKinley Jackson came back to practice. They activated Miles Murphy did too. They activated both of their 21-day windows to be added to the roster. And they both practiced in full today. So it doesn't seem that they are, they're ready to go. They've been doing their rehab work and they're ready to rock and roll right away. So we don't know if they're going to play this weekend. I did see James Rapien said on Twitter that he wouldn't be surprised if Miles Murphy got in the game, but I don't think it would be safe to like rely on them. You know what I mean? I don't think we say, well, Miles Murphy's back. So I don't know.
I expect Miles Murphy to see some snaps. I think it'll be limited.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if McKinley Jackson sees any snaps at all. Maybe if we get way up, they put him in there just for some game time. But that might be being a little bit optimistic.
Right.
So I don't think he'll see any snaps till maybe week 6, week 7. I mean, you got to remember, like, he's a rookie. He got hurt earlier on. Like, he's seen almost no game time.
Yeah.
this might be like a mid-season kind of a
Right.
thing as far as McKinley Jackson's concerned.
At least to when he plays some sort of meaningful football snap. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yes.
not like, oh, hey, we're at the end of the game, whatever, last drive. And it's not like Miles Murphy. Like you said, he's a rookie, so he's going to take some time. Miles Murphy has got a year under his belt. Hopefully he comes in and he's ready to rock and roll. But Chris Jenkins getting, I think getting some more snaps, and then having BJ Hill back is just going to be huge. And it couldn't come at a better time considering they're going up against, like you said, the most potent running attack in the NFL with Lamar Jackson.
Did you know they're averaging over 220 yards on the ground a game?
That's wild. I did see. I didn't
one of
know
like
that
6 times or something like that. Like 8 times it's happened since like the merger. It is a wild statistic.
Yeah,
it is scary.
I did see as well that Lamar Jackson's averaging like 7 point something, and it's 7.8 or something like that yards per carry, and Derrick Henry's averaging 6. You know what I mean? So it's like both options. Oh, and then I saw that the other carry, Zay Flowers has a couple carries. No one's averaging less than 5 yards a carry. Nobody.
Yep.
No matter
That's
who
how you
carries
get to
it.
220.
Right. So I expect not only some help in the way of extra bodies at the defensive line with some guys coming back from injury, but I also think I could expect a lot more Akeem Davis Gaithers in this game. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more 4-3, a little bit less nickel. But then again, at the same time, Lamar Jackson, if you just let him sit back there and throw, he'll tear you up. So, and like we saw last week, Cam Taylor-Britt struggled again. He had another really cool highlight reel pick, but it got called back because I think it was a defensive hold. He got held a couple times. He got caught up on double moves and just got burnt bad. And it was by Deontay Johnson. And not to say that he's terrible, but he's not, he's nothing special. He's not Jamar Chase. He's not T. Higgins. He's probably not Zay Flowers.
There. He's admitted as much in press conference later, locker room, not press conference. We'll see. I think he's going to snap back. But the bright side of it is DJ Turner stepped in and honestly looked pretty good.
He did.
I don't like that we're having to rotate stars in just to get disappointed by just to have a disappointing performance. That's not really the way you should field. Like, I don't like the idea of cornerback by committee.
Right, me neither. No, that's something that you feel like you can't
reasonable do. Person, right? At least we have like a reasonable backup who stepped in and did well. Maybe not so much a backup in the future. Who knows? But it's just a bright spot.
We came into the season, I think, really worried about the defensive line and the secondary when it came to depth. And for the secondary, I'm okay with it. It's actually kind of come out to be good. And we'll get to when we talk about these activations and who's going to get activated, we'll talk about who could potentially get cut. But the secondary's been good. I mean, when one of them has gone out, like we saw when Cam Taylor-Britt went out, DJ Turner stepped in, played well. Dax Hill has really taken to cornerback. And not that like he doesn't know what he's doing because he played there in college, but safety in the NFL and cornerback are just two different things. And just I kind of expected like, well, this is the beginning of the end of his career, but it's not. It's the beginning of a new career. You know what I mean? Because he's been really good.
Yeah. He's been really good. He's an athlete, so that shows up on the field. His angles aren't always the best. You can tell that transition is like messing with him just a little bit. Right. But you can learn that. I'm not worried about it. The transition's gone a lot smoother than I think anybody could have expected.
He had an incredible pass breakup in the back of the end zone. And I don't remember if he was covering Deontay Johnson or who it was covering, but it was just a perfectly placed ball from Andy Dalton. And I mean, the coverage was tight. It couldn't get much better. But I mean, it was all him at the end of the play. He pulled I think he pulled the receiver's arms back a little bit. But yeah, I agree. I am happy with what I saw in Charlotte and Carolina. I wasn't surprised we won. The Bengals are a better team from top to bottom. They're a better team. The Carolina Panthers, I know they won in week 3 with Andy Dalton, and that was awesome. I'm happy for them. They're not a good team. Andy Dalton is not among the best starting quarterbacks in the NFL. He's just better than Bryce Young. That's all it is.
Which is why I feel better, but don't feel good.
Right, and I get that.
See what we look like down the line, and the
What a
Ravens
what a
are scary.
transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the test. Okay, I think this game shows us, hey, we're either who they were in week 1, 2, or 3, or we're who they were last week. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
especially on the defensive side of the ball. Now I know that Chuba Hubbard and Derrick Henry are two totally different things, as are Lamar Jackson and Andy Dalton. So it's not like Lou Anarumo hasn't done this before. You know, he knows what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he has the tools to his disposal, and we've seen Mike Hilton make one-on-one just fantastic stops in the backfield against Derrick Henry in playoff games.
But are we going to have Mike Hilton? He was out. He
I know.
practice.
He did not practice today. That's a very good point. I don't know. I don't know if we will or not. And if we don't, who steps into that slot corner position?
Josh Hayden.
Yeah, probably. So I don't know. It's going to be fun. We'll kind of get into it, but it's gonna be 100%. It's going to come down to, are the Bengals going to be able to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson from just running the ball down their throats? That's it. I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson beating us through the air. If he does, then it means we stop the run. Good job. You know what I mean? Sure. And I'm more confident in our secondary and their ability to cover a couple good receivers than I am the front seven to stop that running attack. You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather leave them kind of on an island and sell out to stop the run. Before we talk about the offense, because I know we want to talk about a couple things that they did.
Yes.
We did want to talk about, so Miles Murphy and McKinley Jackson are practicing. They've both been activated on their 21-day window, so they can practice for 21 days without cost or without counting against a roster spot. And then once they're activated as the active roster, obviously we have to let somebody go. So the Bengals have 52 spots on the roster, meaning one is open, which I imagine will go to probably Miles Murphy at the end of the week. But let's say it's both of them. Let's say McKinley Jackson and Miles Murphy are going to get activated. That means the Bengals have to let somebody go. And we kind of talked before we started recording about two potential names. Why don't you go ahead with the first one?
I think the first and most likely option is Tanner Hudson. We're not the only podcast talking about this. We're not the only fans talking about this. The tight end room has been crowded. 5 tight ends is an insane amount of tight ends. Tanner Hudson really hasn't been making a mark on this team since very early in the season, and the mark he made early in the season will live in infamy. I just don't think he has long to live on this roster. I think they're probably trying to think him on the practice squad if they can. Who knows? I would have thought he'd get sniped up, but tight ends aren't doing anything in the whole league, so I don't know if anybody even cares enough to try to make room. It's a weird season. Everybody's running the ball. Tight ends aren't doing anything. It's weird. But Tanner Hudson is, in my opinion, the most likely candidate.
I agree.
Number 2 was Tyson Anderson, which I'm throwing to Jason to talk about.
Yep. I do totally agree with you. If they were going to pick one, or if if you put a gun to my head and said, hey, who's it going to be? I would say it's probably going to be Tanner Hudson. Tyson Anderson is the only other guy that to me makes sense. He's taken, I think, 1 defensive snap this year. Everything else has been on the practice squad, or not the practice squad, sorry, special teams. And not to say that's not important. He's made 3 tackles this year. It's just, we haven't heard him, it's one of those things. I think unlike offensive line, safety is one of those positions that we'd like to hear your name every once in a while. If we're not hearing your name, you're probably not doing a great job. They have 4 safeties. They know Jordan Battle can play. They know, Geno Stone, Von Bell can play, and Dejon Anthony has really, he's carved a niche out on this defense, and he's got a role. He's got more of a role
for where he was picked.
Right.
He's a rookie.
Absolutely.
Right there
7th round rookie.
Head and shoulders of Tyson Anderson, who has yet to make a name for himself other than every preseason. Everybody going, hey, do you think this is the year Tyson Anderson makes a name for himself?
Yep. But if they have to let one guy go and you're choosing between Tyson Anderson and Tanner Hudson, I think with the emergence of Eric All, who we're going to talk about in a minute, I think that means that, Tanner Hudson can go. You would agree, right? Okay.
I do.
All right.
But this was the whole point of the 5 tight ends. I didn't want to say that, and we'll move on.
Yeah.
This is clearly what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
With the 5 tight ends, is they ran the 5 knowing they'd cut one somewhere down the line, but they wanted to give them time, even if that time was mostly just in practice. They wanted to give them time to see what they could do. And now it's going into week 5. They know what they can do. I
Yep.
think Andrew Hudson's on the way out. That's it.
Yep. I would
Just
agree with
this
that.
is kind of according to plan.
Yep. I agree with that. I think that if, they loaded up with 5 tight ends and 5 safeties, probably thinking like, hey, one of these 2 guys will go. When
Yep.
we activate so-and-so, one of these 2 guys will go. So the Bengals we talked about last week, we wanted them to run more 12 personnel, and they did. They're running more 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends. They're running more 12 personnel than any other team in the league, and it's Drew Sample and it's Eric All. Eric All,
according to Joe Burrow, that's who we are now. Apparently, this is the new standard. It's the new identity.
Yep.
We've been begging for it for 2 years now. A lot of other people have. It's exciting times. Watch this offense evolve.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. 100%. And then the nice thing about it is you have your 5 linemen, you have your 2 tight ends, one of which is probably in the backfield, or maybe you're going to split all out or whatever. And then you got the best duo of wide receivers in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins out wide. And I think that a lot of teams that run 12 personnel have a good tight end, and they don't have a lot of good, wide receiver help.
Sure.
So but that's not the Bengals. The Bengals you can't stack the box against the Bengals. You can't. You know what I mean? And if that's what it's going to mean to open up this passing game is, hey, we're going to run the ball down your throat a little bit because the Bengals are good at it, then that's what it means. But yeah, Eric All was described today. Dan Pitcher was asked, I don't know if you saw this, in a press conference, and they said something about him being a violent blocker. And it said that it's not that he's willing. He's like, I don't remember the word that he used, but it was something along the lines of like, he likes to be violent. You know what I mean? Like it's not that he's a willing violent blocker. Like he likes it, like almost he likes it a lot. And we can see that
reads when you watch him play, man. Like he likes to send dudes flying.
Yep,
he likes to hit that midsection, upper thigh. He gets a kick out of it watching dudes just hit the turf.
And I think that there's 2 types of tight ends generally, and the Bengals have one of each. And they have the Mike Gesicki, who's your I'm just a downfield. I'm too slow to be a wide receiver, but I'm really not a blocker. You know what I mean? Don't put me next to the offensive tackle and ask me to block. I'm a split me out wide. And then there are Drew Samples, who are absolutely put me next to the offensive tackle. I can block almost as well as him, but if you want me to stretch the field, don't give me the ball. I'm your check down guy. And then you have a guy that you have Eric All, who can do both. He can block. And it's way too early. George Kittle is a 5-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time first team, 2-time second team All-Pro. So to say like, oh, Eric All is like the next George Kittle, that's just stupid and irresponsible. But it's
you heard it here, folks. Jason Garrison, Eric All is the next George Kittle.
Hey, they both went to the same college. But George Kittle is a good blocker, but I think it's a lot of his attitude. He likes it. You know what I mean? He likes it. I think Eric All likes it. I think that's all it is. If you go up to Mike Gesicki and he's like, hey, what's your favorite thing? He's not going to say, oh, my favorite thing is catching a linebacker. And he's going to say, my favorite thing is catching a jump ball in the end zone.
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me if Eric All, despite his receiving chops, would say, oh, my favorite thing is knocking someone's head off. It really wouldn't. That's the way he plays. Absolutely. But I think that the Bengals absolutely found their future tight end 100%. And the fourth round, and he falls because, 2 major knee surgeries. He's just got to stay healthy. But
but the 2 tight ends have opened up the run game. This is what leads into that. Because we had 31 running attempts. In the last game. I don't know for certain. That's got to be close to the upper echelon of what the Bengals have ran under Joe Burrow. I can't imagine we've run it that many times that frequently.
No. It was 31 rushing attempts and 31 pass attempts. It's got to be the only time in the Joe Burrow era that we ran the ball as much as we threw. And if that's the formula for how they're going to put, stack wins, then that's what the formula is. It doesn't matter if Burrow doesn't have the MVP, 4,000 yard, 30 touchdown season. If they're winning the ball, I don't think he'll care either. Or if they're winning the games, I don't think he'll care either. But yeah, absolutely. They play that these defenses are saying, hey, we're going to take away the long passes. We're going to drop these 2 deep safeties. Nothing's going to get behind them. And then we'll say, okay, well, then we're just going to run the ball. And then when you start to creep up, that's when, you remember like, oh man, they're running 12 personnel, but they got really good wide receivers. Not really
But
good wide
Jamar Chase
receivers.
still.
Jamar Chase, the best or second best wide receiver in the NFL, second best behind Justin Jefferson. I think it's their 1 and 2.
I would imagine, yeah. I could make the argument Jamar's better, but that's kind of homer.
Yeah, right. But then we talk about T. Higgins, top 10 for sure.
Sure.
Maybe top 5,
No.
top 10. Top 10 wide receiver, and they're running 12 personnel with Andre Ucevic on the bench, coming in ready to go. That dime that Joe Burrow dropped over him in the middle, he knew he was going to get hit in that safety. If you're not watching, this is going to be hard to keep up with at this point. All right. Anyway, so I think the whole point is we're excited about the Bengals making some adjustments with running the ball, and they've been so effective at it too. Chase Brown's averaging, I think, more yards per attempt than any running back in the NFL, or yards per carry.
Is there a player on the Bengals that you're more excited about than Chase Brown? This last game, every single run felt dangerous.
Everyone.
You know what I mean? Every one of them felt so dangerous.
100%.
You could sense it from the other team, though. He is starting to find his groove, and he is this close to breaking off a big one. I bet it's going to happen in this next game, because he felt close 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And more than that, every single run ended up, he's learned how to turn speed into power in a way that he did not know how to do like early last season.
Right.
And he is, in my opinion, he is RB1 from this moment forward, at least if they're smart.
I think that I'd be fine with that. And just so everybody knows, just so you know, he is averaging 6.3 yards per attempt, which is second behind Tank Bigsby, but Tank Bigsby has 21 attempts to Chase Brown's 29. So yeah, I mean, Tank Bigsby, rookie. Either way, 6.3 yards per attempt is great. The Bengals have never been able to run like that under Joe Burrow. And you're absolutely right. Every time he touches the ball, first of all, he hits the hole like a freight train moving 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like there's no stutter step, and it's like he hits the hole 100 miles an hour, and there have been big ones. I mean, it's, you could drive a truck through some of these. And on top of that, you get the sense that if he just gets on the other side of the linebackers, it's gone.
He's gone.
You know what I mean? He had one carry yesterday to the left side, I think, or not yesterday, on Sunday on the left side. I think you probably know which ones I'm talking about. It was early, and it was a shoestring tackle, and there was a lane. You could see it to the sideline, and he got up, and you could tell he was frustrated because had he broken that tackle, he was gone. Absolutely gone. But yeah.
That was his attitude the whole game, though. It wasn't just that one. You could tell that he felt it too, that he was so close to breaking a big one off. And you could sense the frustration, but it didn't it just fueled him. Like he ran like that the whole game. I'm a big Chase Brown fan, have been since the draft, and I really think he's coming into it now.
Anybody who just started watching us now, I want you to go back to last year, because Kevin's not just saying, "Oh yeah, like I've always been a big Chase Brown guy." Yeah, go back and watch last year when we drafted him, because Kevin was like banging the drum about how big of a deal it was that we got Chase Brown the moment that they selected him on day 3. So yeah, he's always been a big Chase Brown guy. So that's absolutely true. But I think I think that he does different things. Zach Moss, I think, is a really good pass protector. That touchdown he scored at the end of the first half was such a huge. I mean, Joe Burrow even said probably wasn't my best decision. You know what I mean? If he doesn't score there, the whole game's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's a good pass protector. I think he's a good. Do what?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think he's a good pass protector. I think he's a good, locker room guy and the leader. But there's just something about Chase Brown when he touches the ball. Anytime he touches the ball, that he's just a home run. Anything could be a home run. I'd really like to see them get him involved in the passing game more. Chase Brown.
Yeah, they don't seem to trust him 100% yet. I thought that was going to be his role, and it's really become more Zach Moss's role. But I expect that to evolve as the season goes on.
I think so too. I think a lot of the reason that has been the case is because, in those instances where it's a passing play and Burrow wants to change the protection, where he's going to, hey, you're going to stay in. I think that he trusts Zach Moss to pick that up more than he trusts Chase Brown. So, but that's like you said, that's just an experience thing. I think that'll come. So, yeah, anything else, man?
Just want to talk about this Ravens game just for a
Yeah.
minute. Just that the Ravens defense is incredibly bad at defending the pass,
Yep.
and we're incredibly bad at defending the run, which
Yep.
means that this will be an incredibly weird game and could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I do kind of expect this to be a shootout with one side not shooting, running instead,
Yeah.
because Lamar Jackson is never going to be. I mean,
No.
let's be honest, he's never going to be a guy who is known for his incredible
No.
incredible arm talent.
Nope. He's got a good arm.
But
yeah,
it's a good arm. It's good.
He's a good arm.
But
he's
Lamar
not
Jackson
Patrick
because
Mahomes.
he's averaging 7+ yards a carry is why he's Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. He's Lamar Jackson because he's terrifying when he has the ball in his hand.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I expect a shootout as well. I think it could be a really fun game. I think the difference in this game could be the Bengals running the ball and playing a little bit of ball possession offense themselves. Let's see how long we can keep the ball in our hands. But yeah, I'm excited. I am excited. I feel much better. Anyone who watched last week's show and then watched this week's show is going to think we need to be medicated because it's just polar opposites, just absolutely polar. But
I mean, if that isn't representative of the entire Bengals fan base for the entirety of my life,
that's true.
Like literally, this was what being a Bengals fan was like when I was like 6 years old. They know what it's like. You're up 1 minute, you're down another. The sky is falling. Oh, we're unbeatable.
Yep.
Like this is just what the fandom is. We don't have the luxury of sugarcoating anything. we know what it feels like to suck, and we know what it feels like to be really good.
It's very true. All right, I'm not going to ask you for a score prediction or anything like that. I'm just going to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you think, or like a percentage, 0% to 100%? What are the chances are the Bengals come out on top on Sunday?
51%.
Okay. All right.
I think I'm right there with you. I'm leaning Bengals because I'm a homer at heart, and if I think it's going to be close, I always tend to maybe stupidly, but I tend to veer optimistic. I tend to think the Bengals will find a way to get it home. Here's my prediction of the game: is it's going to come down to the last score. Last team to score wins. Period.
I think it's going to come down to a field goal,
whether it's touchdown. Yeah, whatever it is, last score wins. There is going to be no time where either team gets to let off the gas. Period.
I think it's going to come down to, hey, the Bengals have to get in field goal range. Can Joe Burrow get them there? Or, hey, the Ravens got to get in field goal range. Can Lamar Jackson get them there? That's what it's going to come down to. So I agree. I think I'm right around 50, 51%. I think this could go either way. It's just going to be who makes the biggest mistake, who makes the first mistake, or whose defense gets a couple of lucky stops. You know what I mean? Or whose punter's nuclear-powered leg kicks a 90-yard punt and flips the field. Could be that too. Ryan Rico.
It's hard to run out of the end zone. Putting that out there. Rico may save the day.
It is. It is very difficult to run out of the end zone. All right. Once again, we are on the Orange and Black Insider on YouTube. It's us. It's OBI, which is John and Anthony. It's great stuff there. And then on the Believe Network, we are Believe in Cincinnati, and Believe is BLEAV. Believe in Cincy is our channel name. It's us. It's OBI. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends, and it's Matt and Willie No Ball. Bengals content pretty much every day. Check it out. Great stuff. Like, follow, subscribe, the whole deal. Kevin and I will be back next week, hopefully talking about the 2-3 Bengals heading to the Big Apple. I think they go to New York, right? Yeah. So we'll see. Who day, first of all, and we'll be back next week.
Who day.
Goodbye.